Hello and welcome to Friday with the Chakontas. I am Mr. Chakonta,
And I'm Mrs. Chakonta.
and we're back with a new episode of FWTC Reacts, which is Red Card Challenge or Edition.
Edition.
Okay. And yeah, we're thankful for the ones who've been listening to the other ones, and it's been interesting. So yeah, we've got more red flags that we're going to talk about today. And how have you felt about the show we've been doing so far?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's been a bit different, a bit
Yeah.
similar. It's very similar to what we were doing before, but it's also different. So I quite like it.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got more red flags.
Yes, and
So
it goes like this.
What scenario do we have today?
All right, we've got James and Anna have been married for 6 years. Anna is very active in their church, while James rarely attends. Anna feels that their spiritual lives are drifting apart and that James is not supporting her faith journey.
Yeah. What do you think?
Flag wise,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a red flag.
Why?
It means it needs work. Well, because, I suppose, no, it is a red flag. I was trying to dumb it down and be like, well, it doesn't mean if you're not going to church, doesn't mean you're not a Christian, and all of that. I was trying to like go under that route and saying it doesn't mean it's a red flag, but generally, I think that you should be on the same path in a sense of you should both be active in church. And I think if she was maybe active and he was maybe just attending, that's different. But I do believe that he should also be attending. It's not, I know there is, you don't have to go to church to be a Christian. That is not what defines being a Christian. However, no, you don't agree with me. No, let me finish.
Before
Okay,
you
I'll finish.
continue, but I feel like you've made already assumptions here.
What do you mean?
Are you assuming that they're both Christians, or are you assuming that they were married? One, because this can be an assumption of one, they married were they both unbelievers, and one during the marriage, one became a Christian.
That's true. I was assuming that they, to be honest, I was going to touch on the subject of before they were Christians. I was assuming that he just didn't used to go to church much, or maybe he used to go to church a bit more often, and then now that they've been married, he's slowly drifted.
Yeah.
Rather than the fact that he was that. I think it's different if you were both not Christians and then one of you becomes a Christian. I think that's a different ball game.
Okay, let me give you.
And I think that's easier. Like,
let me give you 3 scenarios. Scenario 1, give me red flag. Grade them. They were both Christians and one became a Christian.
baby, you just said they were both Christians.
No, they were both unbelievers and one became a Christian.
That's not a red flag. They were both unbelievers. One has become a Christian. You're married, so you're still married to that person. So that's, you just have to pray for them and help them and see how you can evangelize.
Yeah.
But it's not as much of a red flag as if one of the scenarios, which I assume you might give me, might be one was a Christian before marriage and one was not. That's a red flag.
Okay, let's say he was not a Christian. She knew his stance, and now she's forcing her religion and wanting him to be supportive.
Then
Second one.
She's a problem. It was a red flag before marriage.
Who's red flag?
It was a red flag for both of them.
Why?
Well, she got married to someone who's not a Christian.
So
that was always going to be difficult.
Is in the red flag her fault, not his fault? Let's say, for example, he's already had this stance.
I would say it's her fault. And then now she can't really start complaining that he doesn't go to church. It's like he never used to go to church before. Or maybe he made it clear that he was just going because of you. Yeah.
What if the other one is, they were both Christians and the other one just does not want to?
That's what I was assuming in this scenario. It's a red flag, but not like a red flag that we need to divorce kind of red flag. You're already married.
Yeah.
So it's a red flag to say, bing, 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 alarm bells, something's not right. We need to do something about this.
Okay, and maybe I need to understand, how do you define red flags? I feel like red flags means it's either I need to escape, I need to get out of this, I'm not safe.
Yeah.
I need to basically avoid at all cost.
No, I was defining it based on whether you're married or not. Because they're married, it can't really be a red flag in a sense of she needs to leave.
Okay.
If they were not, so it still is a red flag, but it's a red flag that's different. For me, I think that's how I've been doing them.
Okay.
So if they were not married, it's a red flag to say, girl, don't go marry him.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? But now that they're married, there is no room to now say you can't go marry him. There is no there's no grounds for you to divorce him.
Yeah.
There's not, you're now married. It's
Yeah.
a red flag. I suppose maybe I would say it's not a red flag. I guess maybe if you want to stick to the definition of red flag means you need to leave the marriage. But I feel like it's going to be quite difficult because there's only two scenarios where we've discussed and we agree that a marriage, you know, as in you need to divorce. Leaving the marriage is different, separating is different, but divorce.
So, is it a red flag based on the situation? That's what you're saying?
It's not it's a red flag to say this is significant, that needs to be dealt with, but that does not mean you need to separate or divorce.
How do you deal with something like that?
With this, that's what we're gonna go into.
Okay, so that okay.
Do you get it?
I get it.
But maybe I won't use red flag in marriage because it's difficult in marriage. We tend to use red flags more when we're discussing before getting married. So red flag is
But don't
go into this marriage.
Are you also saying that's what I'm asking, how do you use red flags? That's what I'm saying. Is the red flag on the sense of, let's say, this is of importance and we need to discuss it, or this is of importance and we need to pray about it? Both. This is of importance. So like, is red flag also a way of analyzing where your marriage is, or how is the whole term? How do we apply it to different situations? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. We're gonna have to decide that because we don't usually use red flags in marriage.
Okay.
Like we tend to use, this is a definition.
But we have used it before.
No, we've been using it.
Yeah.
But we've been using it to say this is a no. It should not be happening.
Yeah.
Like, but we haven't used it to justify leaving a marriage. Okay, remember when we did the other one? Okay, now we're going back.
Let's have a way of saying that our red flag, we're basically saying red flag is giving, it needs to be sorted out. This is red alert, attention, we need to talk about it now.
Yeah, it needs to be dealt with now.
If it does not go into, if we do not talk about it now, it may slip into an area of where it brings damage to the relationship, or it can lead to an aspect of where you drift apart, or something like that. It's bringing alert.
Yes, or you need to, depending on the scenario, or you need to leave now.
We can discuss that one later on.
Okay. That's fine. So in this
scenario,
it's a red flag that needs significant attention now. But I think if we're now using the basis, I think the other one, if she was a Christian, and he wasn't, and they got married, it was a red flag from the beginning. So now she has to just deal with it.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can't really address that. That's different. And if she's become a Christian and he's
what's the first one you said? Sorry.
Before marriage, she was a Christian and he was not.
Yeah. So what do you mean?
No longer. It was already a red flag from the beginning. So right now it's a bit different scenario.
But I think that there's also a red flag in the relationship now. It's like the red flag I kind of see here is they were not okay. Let's talk about the thing before. Let's settle that down and then we can go on.
Okay.
It was a red flag in the sense of if she's a believer and then going to get married to somebody who's not a believer.
Yes, that was a red flag. She should not have that.
That's ultimately a red flag, and that's something that she should not pursue. Mm-hmm. And the different issues is why they should not pursue is because even scripture tells us it's not that you can change your husband. You don't know if they're going to save your husband. Mm-hmm. And sometimes by God's grace, people may get saved, but you don't force it on them. And help them say, I'll get married, but what's this? And the same, what are your desires? Maybe your desires, it also maybe have to question on you. Maybe you are the red flag in sense. Maybe you have a low standard of your Christianity.
Yeah.
And maybe your Christianity is not that deep. You're not, I don't want to say deep, but I'm saying you're not as mature as you need to be. Yeah. And then when you start to mature, you now start to realize, oh, I want my husband to feel the same affections that I have. Mm-hmm. That's hard because you can't now start saying you're applying your Christian life to your husband who's not an unbeliever.
Yeah.
It's just by default, he can't see the worth of your Christianity because based on what scripture tells us, like spiritually, he's dead spiritually.
Yeah.
it's not hitting him the same way it's hitting you.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not doing certain things. In those situations, I think there are also now other ways of how you can address that red flag.
Yeah.
That red flag is based on circumstance. And now the way you have to do that is either one, red flag because you're understanding that my husband, if he doesn't change, he's going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where your red flag is, and saying my red flag is his destination. So how do you now address a red flag in that situation? By preaching the gospel through either verbally and showing them that, or by your deeds, on how you're saying your deeds can maybe attract them to want to know more about Christ.
Yes.
In that situation. But you also need to understand that red flag that is in your relationship is also take accountability and saying it's a red flag that I brought upon the relationship before making a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to add to that?
No, I agree.
Yeah, continue. Maybe add.
Oh no! Oh well, I thought you meant in that point. As in that point, I agree. I don't have, I have more to add in a different scenario.
Okay, let's go to the second scenario then. Yeah.
What do you mean?
So
second scenario is where they were both Christians.
The first one was saying she's Christian and he's not. Let's say the other one is they were both unbelievers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then now
one has become a believer.
Then I still wouldn't call it red flag.
Okay.
Because I feel like this is actually a good thing. This is actually kind of like a green flag, in a sense of, someone's become a Christian and where we didn't have two Christians.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like that's actually, 50%, the kingdom has gained to somebody, and we've got someone who's now believing in Jesus Christ.
So green flag in what? Like, a green flag in the relationship?
No, it's I guess it's a green. Oh yeah, no. It then becomes amber, not completely red.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we have to give credit to the fact that they were not Christians before.
Yeah.
But obviously it means it's going to be a difficult relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be tough. Now you've now got a tough relationship that you need to deal with. Like, you're not going to divorce the man.
Yeah.
Like, that is no grounds for you to divorce him.
Yeah.
So how do you live out now that you've become a Christian and your husband is not? And it's the things that you were talking about before, where it's through your conduct as well.
Yeah.
How you can't shove it down his throat and be like, you need to be a Christian. No, he needs to come to the knowledge of Christ on his own accord.
Mm-hmm.
But you can help him with that by being gentle, by, if he's open to teaching, if you can invite him to church, you can invite him to church events, but you also can't be bitter and mean and angry. It's a different scenario to like the scenario that we might bring up in the like at the end.
Yeah. So
I feel like she needs it's like one of those things that you have to accept, that this is going to be a challenge in my marriage.
Yeah.
But if it's a good thing because I've become a Christian, and maybe God can also use me to bring light to my husband.
Yeah.
And through my conduct and the way I live, perhaps my husband might feel some sort of way and may feel encouraged to want to know more about Christ.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I still, he didn't know Christ before, so it's different. I don't know. I'm struggling to even give it amber. I'm just still seeing it as a green flag. I know what in the relationship it's gonna be a problem. But I feel like this is her new burden now.
Yeah.
to
It's a green flag in the sense of that something that was not there has been invited into the relationship.
Yeah.
So it's green in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Christ has now been invited through one person.
Yeah.
It's amber because now the relationship is
unequally yoked.
Yeah, because it's saying that we were yoked, but now we are unequally unyoked. Well, we were yoked, but now we are not yoked.
Yes.
In the sense of maybe we desire certain things. Like, let's say, for example, we used to like go out, drink and everything. Yeah. And then now the husband is like, your desires have changed. So now that becomes an aspect of how does now the desires change? Because there's another aspect of where now the woman is saying, my desires have changed. I'm now getting frustrated. Like, let's say if this is the narrative of where she feels my desires have changed and I demand for you to now support me. I feel that now that becomes an amber situation because it's like you're now trying to take him this was not the issue. And I feel like maybe you have to be more understanding, because you're saying just as you are understanding the aspect of the gospel reached you, it hasn't reached him yet.
Yeah.
And now because of that, you have to have a level of grace. And you're saying this newfound religion that you found in the newfound faith you have in Christ, you also have to understand how Christ met you when you did not want him. So now this is your mission field that I think God is now placing on you.
Yeah.
But it's going to come with a lot of tension. And that's what I'm saying. It's amber in the sense of the relationship is strained because you're trying to do something and you're introducing a positive thing in something that was negative.
Yeah.
So like it's now neutralized. And now it's like, okay, which one are we trying to pull? Are we supposed to go to the amber side? Or because you can easily be put back.
Yeah.
Or you can easily now pull him to the other side.
Yeah.
And that's why you're in the middle ground. But we also trust that God also does that in marriages. And we also pray that by God's grace, because he also says there's also have to be an understanding that you can't change him and you cannot give him the same affections like we've said in scenario 1.
Yeah.
But we also say that that's also another aspect of sharing the gospel, as you said, and also asking God to help you as you try to conduct this newfound faith that you have.
Yeah.
And I think it's more frustrating when you're a believer and then you're trying to change somebody and you know the truth. That now you have these new affections and you're trying to say, how am I supposed to express these new affections in a relationship that did not have this? But the other side is one person had it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I hear you.
So yeah, anything you want to add on that part?
No, I'm good.
And the third scenario is you're both Christians.
Yeah.
And one's affections just dropped.
Yes.
That one
That's
is
tough.
It's a hard one.
That's tough.
And I think that one is mainly, I think that was the one you probably are thinking is the main.
Yeah, I was thinking that's what the scenario was because of the way it was written. Like Anna is very active and he rarely attends. So I was, but then it could be, I was thinking that that's what I had in mind. That he was a Christian and he's sort of slowly falling off being attentive in terms of coming to church and being active. Yeah.
So what's your flag for that one?
I don't know, because I think before I gave it a red flag. Maybe it's an amber because it doesn't. I mean, I don't know. Let me. Oh, tell me what you got.
I think it's a red flag in the sense of you're introducing, like you're saying, there's something that's positive in the relationship, and somebody is now introducing something negative. So it's easy to basically say that positive and negative now is you can meet on the middle thing. It's better because it's like the shift is so dramatic.
That's true. I don't know why I'm trying to. No, it's true.
So
it is a red flag.
It becomes a red flag in the sense of we need to sit down and we need to now talk about this.
This can be significantly. Yeah,
because this is something we've built our house on this foundation.
Yeah.
Now it's like you're stripping the foundation and you're saying we need to build it on something else.
Yeah.
Now there's the tension of, no, we need to build our foundation on God. Now the other one is like, no, I want to build my foundation on my desires. Now that becomes an issue of where the tension comes in.
Yeah.
And where we're saying like, now this is another issue like where this is hard because it's now basically trying to say especially like for a woman, how should I submit in a situation where I know it is wrong, we're going in that direction? And how should I be able to express my faith when my husband is not expressing his faith in that situation? And I think ideally what I feel like in these situations, I don't know what that's. I don't think husbands basically come and say, stop going to church and everything like that. I think it's more of the side of just say, I'm not going, so don't force me. If you want to do it yourself. That's what I've seen. But I don't know. I may be ignorant where like some people.
I'm sure there are some scenarios where they don't want her to go as well, isn't it? Yeah. But I think that most of the time it's like, I don't want to go, but if you want to go, go.
Yeah, but don't force me. And I think that at least is maybe that can be a positive in of itself. You're saying his affections have changed. And maybe this is a season for me to actually now go to God in prayer and say, God, why has his affections changed? I found him in this state of this is what attracted me to him. Now, should my attraction change? Should my attraction change in the sense of where I'm not seeing anything godly? But God, you've also called me to now say, if you've placed me in this situation and you've helped me also understand that you love me and you help me in this endurance, if he does not believe, the issue is I never made a covenant with just him and me and him. I made it with you, him and you.
Yeah.
So it's more on the side of now this is an issue of where it's not the individual. The woman who's there has to wrestle with God. This is an issue between her and God.
Yeah.
And I think there's other aspects of where you need to be able to try to have conversations as best as you can to try to drive the narrative and try to chastise and everything like that, because there's some people who just like, they just don't want.
Yeah.
To the point of where they'll just say, I don't want to go to change. They tell their elders and say they don't want to be part of the fellowship or something like that. And it's like, for them, they've just said this is a season for them that they just don't want Christianity.
Yeah.
And now how do you speak into that? And I think we can try as best as we can from the people of God to speak into those situations. But this is an issue of only God can speak to an individual in that when their heart is stubborn to the things that they once had affections for. And it's hard for a family because the family is trying to you're trying to have this desire of, I want our children to be godly. I want our children to be A, B, C, D. But the good thing is that you can do that. And I think it's very easy for somebody to be bitter because let's say you've carried the Lord for so long. And then now when they come back, you're like, but I've been dealing with all these things. And then now they've got this affection back again and now they want to lead. Now you're like, I'm now supposed to be submissive for all these years when you didn't have these affections. And I think this is why the humility for a woman in a relationship is something that is hard. And the aspect of why she needs to now channel her mind and say, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I doing this thing so that I can get points and everything like that? I'm here to glorify God. God is the one who's going to reward me. I'm not here to fight my husband. If he comes back and then I have to submit to him in the direction that we feel like we need to go to shepherd our home in the best possible way, I have to be submissive because that's what I've been called to do. In this season, I'll be submissive on the general things, but on the spiritual things, I have to be able to maybe put a ground down and say, I have to be able to submit to God on this situation. Maybe I think you've got something you want to add there.
Me? You've said it all, Mr. Chakontas. You've said it all. I was like, I'm done. I've got nothing else to add. No, it's true. I honestly, I agree with you 100%. It's a tough situation to be in as a woman, especially in this situation where we have Anna, and he's rarely attending and she's feeling that they're drifting apart. But I think the one thing in this scenario I can, pick up that's a bit different is that because it says that she feels that James is not supporting her faith journey. So I'm just like, I wonder if she's just looking at it as, I don't like her, this is what I'm doing. So I need you to be coming to church to support me. So I'm like, it's not about that. He needs to be coming to church for his own. And the fact that you're also going and somehow it's intertwining and you're able to support each other. So I don't know if is it Jane or Anne? I've forgotten. Anna is looking at it more for her, my husband's not coming, so he's not supporting me. I think she needs to be more worried about her husband's spiritual state rather than the fact that he's not there when she's active and she's doing and all of those things are great for, when it's nice, when we go to church and we're doing things together, right? I do enjoy it. I do enjoy when you and I are doing stuff at church together or we go and we're doing this and whatever. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is you need to have your own relationship with God. I need to have my own. We are having one as a family, and when we go to church, it's not about you, me, it's about God. So she should be, I feel like that end of the statement makes me think that Anna needs to be more worried about the spiritual state of her husband.
Yeah.
And been praying to God about his spiritual state. You know, and asking him, does he believe he's a Christian? Why is it that you don't want to go to church? Because there might be a situation where he maybe doesn't like that church. And maybe she's just like, oh, I don't want to leave this church because, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm involved, I'm growing, you know, I'm not where I used to be and all of that. But if it's not working for your husband, so perhaps you sitting down together and saying what church works for us as a family. You might need to as Christians, we have a lot of options in terms of different types of churches. And there needs to be an element of her being submissive to her husband. I'm just giving an you know, like a hypothetical scenario as to like why. I'm not saying that's why. She needs to be submissive to her husband's wishes, but also they need to be able to have a conversation together and look at the important things and the needs. They might come from different church backgrounds completely, like you and I, and trying to figure out, okay, how do we make it work together so that both of us can be getting something and can be able to learn and to look forward to coming here. It can't just be about you, Anna, being active and being, you know, if you get what I mean. So if it's a matter of them, he's not going because he doesn't like the church because it's ABCD, then maybe it's time to think about going to another church that you both can like for his spiritual growth. Because as I was saying, you don't need to be a Christian you don't need to go to church to be a Christian. However, as a Christian, as you read the word of God, it encourages you to be in fellowship with one another. It tells you, not even encourage, you know, if I use the word encourage, it's like, you know, it tells you to be in fellowship with one another, to you see how they used to live as Christians. It wasn't like, oh yeah, so we're Christians, everyone mind their own business in their own home. No, we're together as a community, and that's how we encourage each other and fellowship and teach each other and grow. So he also needs to be having that element of growth. And that's where the red flag is from. If he's still saying he's a Christian but he's not engaging, that can be a problem. And even the two of you, like, how is your fellowship like at home? If he's a Christian, doesn't want to go to church, maybe you know, encourage him, but he's like, I don't mind doing stuff at home. Maybe you know, compromise in certain ways, maybe do things together at home, have fellowship, the two of you. In the meantime, as he's trying to process all of this, don't force him, you know, that you're having arguments, you need to come to church, no, just read the Bible together, listen to, I mean, we are privileged in this day and age to have so many teachings online. You can watch something on YouTube, you can listen to podcasts and have a discussion, the two of you. Depending on the scenario, there are different reasons to why. So I think that's what I would add, in that, you know, there are different reasons to why he might not be wanting to go to church, and maybe exploring those together. And because we have to, maybe life is just not going the way he wants and he's questioning God. You know, sometimes we've been sinful that way and we're guilty of doing that as Christians. And sometimes all we need is just that encouraging wife, that supportive husband, someone who's walking with you and saying, I know it's tough, I know it's hard, but I'm praying with you. Okay, there are times where us women need to be the ones praying. I know the men are supposed to be leading, but there are times in our homes where our men are a bit down and we got to be the ones praying. We got to be the ones reminding our husbands, babe, it's prayer time, babe, it's time to pray. There are times where we need to fight in prayer, because our friend is beaten down, because they're human beings.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, just to add on that, and I'm just saying, like, yeah, that's why I think even scripture tells that, like, sometimes it's like two is better than one. And I think that's another aspect of where the oneness that you guys have, yeah, two of you guys, but it ends of when one is weak, the other one at least can be able to supplement during that weakness. And it's not only spiritually, also in other ways you will see that flesh out in various ways.
Yeah.
So in this sense, the worry, I agree, is a red flag because it's introducing something that's foreign to the relationship that can be of danger. But I feel like it can also be an aspect of, how can I say that? It can be a green flag personally for Anna, in the sense of this can be an opportunity for her to get closer to God in prayer, and also interceding for her husband as she is wrestling with this new reality of where her husband has gone through a season of where he doesn't have the affections that she has. And I think sometimes you also need to say, instead of you saying I need to force this thing, it's maybe just trying and saying I need to go to God in prayer for that. Yeah. Anything you want to add for that one? So we'll just end the episode now, and then we'll just we're thankful for you guys listening. If you have any suggestions, and I would also like to know what you guys would rate this. Because overall, so what would we rate this then if we had to put all the scenarios?
Oh no, but we have to pick one. They're different. We've already rated them separately.
Okay, we've rated them separately. Maybe we'll put them separately. Also,
we'll keep them separately.
We'll keep them separately. What would you rate the three different scenarios?
So the first one was a red flag, like getting married to somebody who's not a Christian.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
The second one was
but both of you are non-Christians, you get married, and then one of you gets saved.
Yeah. And then the third one is you're both Christians, but one decides to go away from the faith.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you guys think on that? So we would like to hear, put it in your comments, and also rate what flag you guys will give those ones. But like we always say, thank you for listening to our podcast. We're always grateful for the support that we get from you. Like we always say, like, subscribe, and
share.
Yeah. And follow us on the different platforms that we have our episodes. And thank you for the support that we get. Until next time, God bless, and bye-bye.
Bye.